Yes, welcome to the No State Project live from the fortified compound in Mesa, Arizona. Glad to be with everybody here. A little adjustment there, but not that it shouldn't really matter anyway. But glad to be here. Glad I'm still here, and it is April 22nd, 2020. We are a couple of months now, maybe 6 weeks into the isolation, the so-called quarantine or self-quarantine. They see here in the United States, it should have been a few weeks longer. Maybe we wouldn't be where we are today. But appreciate everyone tuning in and those that are filing into the big show here today. It seems like all we're doing is talking about bad news. Got some good news. I'll get to that. If you want to join me on the show, it's 7. Oh, I didn't put that in the show note. Yeah. Okay. I did get a custom thumbnail, so I did that, but I completely forgot about the caller information. I guess because I didn't need it last week, but 717-275. Hey, aloha. If one of you guys can put this into the chat and keep repeating that would be, that would be great. 717-275-8941. The passcode is 123-3428. Okay, 717-275-8941. Passcode is 123-3428. And if you want to instant message me on Skype, you may do so at FrankRizzo3, and that'll get you, I will get you on the air that way. I actually prefer to do it that way because running low for the caller line. So things are rough out there. Things are rough. But we'll get to the good news first. I think Rob in Seattle for this. Where the hell is it? Okay, here we go. Being reported by I'll put this into the show, into the chat. Someone who's reporting about this. I guess it was from... when was this done? It was reported on a Monday, so the 20th. So I guess on the 20th, good news from the Supreme Court that they ruled on Monday that juries across the nation must be unanimous to convict or acquit a criminal defendant. Outlawing the split. This is reported by John Zimmerman. NOLA, I guess that's New Orleans, NOLA.com. And outlawing the split verdicts that had persisted in Louisiana since openly racist lawmakers enshrined them in the state constitution during that there Jim Crow era. In a 6-3, you would think this would be a unanimous decision, but it's not. You'll be surprised at who actually voted for this. Not who you would think. 6-3 decision that crossed ideological lines. The High Court ruled that the Sixth Amendment's right to a jury trial implicitly requires a unanimous verdict, and that the previously acknowledged need for jury consensus in federal courtrooms applies equally to state courts through the 14th Amendment. Nice. So there's going to be a lot of people in Louisiana and Oregon, because that's the only two places that had it. New Orleans, Louisiana, and of course Oregon. They said that the only two states to adopt non-unanimous jury verdicts in 1898 and 1934, respectively. So Louisiana was 1898 and Oregon was 1834, which says that the Louisianans voted in 2018. Wow, 2 years ago, to do away with the practice, overwhelmingly passing an amendment to the state constitution requiring unanimous verdicts in future cases. That's the surprising thing here is, there were 3 holdouts that voted against it. Why would you? I got to read these dissenting opinions. It's I was so shocked 15, 20 years, whatever it was, to find out that Louisiana and Oregon don't have unanimous rules for unanimous conviction or acquittal. The justices agreed, however, that the High Court's 1972 decision in Opodaka versus Oregon, which upheld split verdict laws in Louisiana and Oregon, was in get this, Justice Brett Kavanaugh's words, quote, egregiously wrong, end quote. And Justice Neil Gorsuch, a nominee of President Trump, along with Kavanaugh, called it a, quote, gravely mistaken, end quote, in the majority opinion. Wherever we might look to determine that the term, quote, trial by an impartial jury trial, end quote, meant at the time of the Sixth Amendment's adoption, whether it's the common law state practices in the founding era or opinions and treatises written soon afterward, the answer is unmistakable, Gorsuch wrote. A jury must reach a unanimous verdict in order to convict. Again, this is criminal only. Or is that giving legal advice? Is it? The fact that Louisiana and Oregon may need to retry defendants convicted of felonies by non-unanimous verdicts whose cases are still pending on direct appeal will surely impose a cost, but new rules of criminal procedure usually do. Gorsuch wrote that the court took a strange turn in its 1972 decision on split verdicts, where Justice Powell, quote, adopted a position that was neither here nor there, end quote, while breaking a tie on the court. I love this. Anytime they overturn a decision and show how grossly wrong their fellow lawyers were is always worth mentioning. Much of the debate among the justices centered on the weight, if any, to give to the court's 1972 decision in Opodaka and a companion case, Johnson versus Louisiana. I appreciate the Johnson. It's a lot easier to pronounce. Gorsuch and two other justices, Ruth Bader Ginsburg and Stephen Breyer, concluded that the decision, which endorsed split verdicts by as few as 9 of 12 jurors in state courts, wasn't worthy of precedent at all. Wow. Gorsuch, Kavanaugh, and Justice Sonia Sotomayor also stressed the racist origins of the split verdict laws in both Louisiana and Oregon as factors that uniquely matter here. Today, Louisiana and Oregon's laws are fully and rightly relegated to the dustbin of history, she wrote, adding that overruling precedent here is not only warranted, but compelled. Wow. Even Kavanaugh noted evidence that the racism that spawned the split verdict 120 years ago in Louisiana remains embedded within it today. Wow. I don't know. Maybe I got the corona hoax messing up my brain. I actually agree with Brett Kavanaugh on something. Brett Kavanaugh, who the Bush administration, there's no amount of torture, no amount of executive privilege is too. Wow. After all, that was the whole point of adopting the non-unanimous jury requirement in the first place. And the math has not changed. We're going to talk about math later, too. And that's what Kavanaugh wrote. Then and now, non-unanimous juries can silence the voices and negate the votes of black jurors, especially in cases where black defendants or black victims and only 1 or 2 black jurors. Wow. It says about 200 convictions in Oregon are set to be overturned based on a decision. Nice. That this racist history didn't matter to the entire court. However, in his dissent, Judge Alito defended the 2 states' reliance on the split verdict law, arguing that the court was, quote, lowering the bar, end quote, for overturning precedent. If it's not fair, if it takes away from getting a fair trial, a fair verdict, and it has racist origins, that's lowering the bar. Consider what it mean if Opodaka was never a precedent. It would mean that the entire legal profession was fooled for the past 48 years. The idea that Opodaka was a phantom precedent defies belief. I think they're just saying it was wrong. Wow. To add insult to injury, the court tasked Louisiana and Oregon with the charge of racism for permitting non-unanimous verdicts, even though this court found such verdicts to be constitutional, and even though there are entirely legitimate arguments for allowing them. Yeah, courts, even the Supreme Court, make horrible mistakes. Horrible mistakes. So glad to be in. It's not. That's good. That we need some good news. And so it's just for those of us, not me, but those listeners and people listening to the show. Those of you that are in Louisiana and Oregon, you got to have a unanimous. If in a criminal prosecution, got to have unanimous. Oh, is that going to be? Is that going to be described as legal advice now? This lawyer out in Kansas who can't stay up at night. It made his hair fall out. He's so stressed out about me. Huh? If I read this, is he gonna? Yes, if you were in Louisiana or Oregon, the Supreme Court has just ruled on Monday that to be convicted or acquitted, the decision has to be unanimous for criminal proceedings. So if that's given legal advice, have at it. Oh gosh, I almost gave his name out. He is a Kansas lawyer. So that's all I'll say, because don't want to be accused of getting my massive audience to go hunt him down, because, hey, that's what I'm known for, right? Oh. Okay, so I guess we got to get you to bad news. And I had mentioned, this whole thing with the so-called coronavirus hoax. And again, I know that there are more, a handful of theories about what's really happening. And everyone is not necessarily, I'm not saying that they're retarded or anything like that, but everyone is looking at the next one saying, that's crazy. So you've got the guys that think it's just the flu looking at the 5G group like these guys are insane. And I had made a comment that I was watching the Dr. Kaufman video, and there was a graphic up, and he was discussing the basis of his argument. And I had the audacity to do a quick Google search, and I was able to find contradictory scientific papers to what he was saying from multiple sources. And apparently, and this is just one non-entity, apparently I'm not worthy of any kind of credibility whatsoever anymore, that I have shredded my credibility because I dared say that you can use a Google search to disprove an argument or a position. And the thing is, it's not like Google is giving you the information and it's like, well, a Google expert said that this is, no, you do a search, and yeah, DuckDuckGo is probably a better choice. I'm just using, search in general. And you could get scientific studies. Now, would non-entities say that just because I did a Google search and I found 500 links that showed that retroviruses are scientifically proven to scientifically prove the theory of evolution? You lost all credibility. You do the search and then you take the results. Some of them are going to be good, some of them not so good, some are going to be horrible. But I don't think that's doing a Google search to get a scientific document is grounds to say that someone's lost all their credibility. I mean, if a doctor, and I'm not a doctor, if he says something, I'm going to see if there are other medical experts and scientific experts that back up the claim or contradict the claim. So, I've said from the beginning when I'm talking about this stuff, you have experts on both sides. You've got a very tiny minority that are screaming, it's all a hoax. It's all a hoax. There is no new virus. It's just a flu. It's just a common cold. And then you've got the other side saying, We have mapped it. We have isolated. We have visualized this, and we have replicated it. And you have you know what it looks like. Scientists have we many sources mapped out the genome on this. It's not like mapping the human genome. It's a one cell organism. So just because someone uses a Google search to find a scientific peer-reviewed study, yeah, I know that it depends on the source. I get it. I get it. Just like all the meat eaters and dairy people saying, "Oh, you see, we've got this study, and it says, and this is a peer-reviewed study, and it shows that ingesting dietary cholesterol, yes, and even eggs, 10, 12 eggs a day, shows no significant increase in serum cholesterol." Yeah, I get that they it was not a valid study, because what they did in that particular study, which they were all screaming, "Oh, this is great, great!" The scientists were all wrong. Yeah, eggs. If you go through the study, what they did was they took people who already had sky high cholesterol. So when you have a 340 cholesterol already, you keep eating dietary cholesterol, it's not going to have a significant impact in your serum cholesterol. It's just not. But if you take someone like me, or if you take a lifelong vegan, someone like Giza Butler, who has a cholesterol level of, like, say, 140, and you start feeding them an atrocious cholesterol-laden diet, you're going to get a significant increase in that. So I understand that you have to look at who's funding the study. I get it. Contrary to popular, now I got people that listen to the show that I've known for a while think I'm just as stupid as the critics have been claiming these years. So I get it. But look, using a search to find evidence and papers and scientific proof is not a shot at your credibility. Now, if you do a Google search and you pull up Natural News or the Health Ranger and you're using that, or Dr. Mercola, oh, well, of course that's a shot at your credibility, because those people your source has no credibility. No credibility. Zero. So I'm going to have to go ahead and disagree with anyone who says that if you use Google, that you have no credibility. I got a call. Oh, we have a caller. So before I get into more of the COVID hoax, see if we can get a call. Oh, okay. Let's see. We're gonna unmute there. I can't see the area code. So, but if you're calling into the No Stay Project, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hi, Mark. It's Mike. 209 area code, Northern Cal.
Mike, it's been a while. How have you been?
Not bad. Not bad. Although I don't think I can continue on with my case. But anyway, as much as I'd like to, I can't afford to lose my home. So anyway, I just wanted to let you know, I don't know, there was a lyric in a song from Jefferson Airplane many, many years ago that says, all your private property is target for your enemies.
Yeah. I actually looked on a county record today, and it was somebody that here in the valley that owns like 15 to 20 houses. And every single one of them was in his name. I mean, every single one that was listed, that he may have more under a different name or an entity, but I couldn't for the life of me understand how somebody could be could at least have enough knowledge to acquire such, property, and yet be so lacking in business common sense to have them all in his name. Because it just takes one person, and they can destroy you completely economically. So, yeah, you want to control it, but not own anything. At least that's my take on it.
Yeah. So I just, as much as I'd like to carry on with that, I simply can't. But anyway, I thought that was a great lyric from Jefferson Airplane many, many, many years ago.
Well, yeah, that was when they were a fantastic band. And not any that I mentioned before. I believe he actually saw them in San Francisco. So great band.
All right, Mark, I'll let you go. Hopefully you can get some other calls. Thanks so much. I appreciate your help for what you've done with me in the past. But,
well, get with me off air so you can bring me more up to speed off air.
Well, I still believe in your work. So, all right, man. Thanks a lot.
Hey, I appreciate it, Mike. The thing is, no one can guarantee, and I think it's actually illegal for lawyers to guarantee success. So that even if you're Jerry Spence and you and your firm have never lost a criminal case, it would still be unethical or against the ethical rules. And make that lawyer in Kansas just crazy. Maybe you lose even more body hair. But at least on a practical side, as far as giving a guarantee, it's kind of stupid because there are so many variables that go into a court proceeding. And that the idea that just because you have a good argument, look, it doesn't matter the strength of your argument. Anybody who argues, who contradicts this, I don't think they're looking at. I don't think they've ever been to court, or they've never had to actually try to resolve a conflict with people in government. Doesn't matter what the strength of your argument is. It doesn't matter how strong the facts are. None of that matters ultimately when you go to court. Because here you've got the Supreme Court on Monday, and even they're not agreeing on the legal end of it. So, so if you can't get in a situation that is so cut and dry as far as unanimous juries, every single state since at least 1789, the 13, and then you get all the way to 50. There were two lone holdouts. And when did they start doing that? Right in the middle of the Jim Crow era. If you can't get 9 lawyers who are some of the supposedly the top of the game, and you can't get all 9 to agree to something as simple as the Due Process Clause of the 14th Amendment requiring unanimous verdicts, whether for conviction or acquittal, then that tells me, especially when you know that 9-0 decisions at the Supreme Court are extremely rare. So here, it doesn't matter what the strength of your argument is. So the idea, well, it didn't work. Well, take it into context. In Mike's situation, which I was involved with, and then, he was, what's there to admit? He called the show. We talked about it on the show. Each individual at the county, they all admitted that they had no evidence to support the claim they made against Mike. They admitted it. I didn't make the claim up. I asked them about it, and they confirmed it. Okay? However, despite the fact that they admittedly had no evidence to support their claim, they go forward anyway. Because they got a virtually unlimited budget. You and I don't. Now, no, in Mike's situation, the litigation wouldn't have been nearly as expensive, even with appeals. Would have been nearly as costly as, let's say, suing Walmart. It still would have been way more than he could pay. So, unfortunately, you make that decision. So, when you say, did it work or it didn't work, and I'm sure if Mike was on the call on the show, he would confirm this. And he's been on. You can go back into the show archives, go back a couple of years, and we discussed it a lot with Mike. If you take it from the standpoint, did it work in as far as destroying the county's claim against Mike? Oh, it worked in spades. It absolutely did work. It's just like when I get on the show with a critic, and the critic is absolutely insistent that there's evidence and that there is a legitimate organization called the government. And you just ask a few questions. Every single time I've been able to destroy the argument. Usually getting an admission from them. Well, or something that, well, it's just the way it is. So, using the Socratic method, questioning them, using leading questions, assuming that everything they say is a lie, and keeping the burden of proof on them to prove the claim that they're making, that always works. I've said 1,001 times. They're either going to confirm that their claim is true or they're not. And when we're talking about the legitimacy or the existence of a state and government, pretty damn consistent in always being able to demonstrate through questioning people who claim it's true. I don't believe it is. It works every time. Those who doubt, go into the archives. Why, my website's not going to be here long. MarcStevens.net. I can tell you right now, the days are numbered. The days are numbered. And it's more because I can't even afford to keep the site up anymore. So things are going to have to shift to Facebook where it's free. I will back up the forum, and I could put the forum on a free site. So I'm not too concerned about that. That's an easy fix. But definitely get your backups going. But the evidence is on the website. I also have on my channel here many videos which don't involve me being in court. So this Kansas lawyer who's just pulled his hair out, don't worry. Just relax, man. Chill out, dude. But I confronted 2 Supreme Court justices, one current and one he's not there anymore. Scott Bales, Bill Montgomery. And they were the ones that believe, and that their argument and their facts were that their rules, their laws apply to me because they put other people in prison. Don't take my word for it. It's all there on the website. Well, Marc, that's just hearsay. You guys didn't accuse me of hearsay when I talk about shutting government agents down. Just when I contradict the narrative for these ridiculous theories about Corona. But you can go check it out. And it's not just current and former Supreme Court justices. Every prosecutor, every judge, every law professor, everyone I've ever spoken to, it's the same stupid thing. So I can always destroy the argument. If you mean by it didn't work, well, the bureaucrats weren't being fair, and here's the here are the facts why. Okay, granted, yeah, they're not always fair. I know The critics, well, that's just Mark. That's just your fallback position when your nonsensical stuff just falls through. You just say that they're corrupt. Well, they are corrupt. But the difference is I can demonstrate the corruption each time. I can show, like in the Northern California case with another Mike, that this hairless Kansas judge, he's actually licensed in Texas. I can show where in that case with Mike, I can show the judge and the appellate panel, all four of them lied through their teeth, saying that we only presented conclusory statements with no supporting evidence. I can show that they lied. I'm not just saying they're corrupt. I can demonstrate it. Oh, but they, we're not going to look at that. You're just a lunatic. You're just a sovereign citizen. Even though you don't accept that label, even though you don't make those same arguments, even though you're not a state citizen, even though you don't see any legitimacy with the sheriff's office, we're going to do it anyway. I can make my own accusations against this bald lawyer. Now, you might not like the label XYZ, but nonetheless, I'm going to say it. I don't have a shred of evidence. So there's no merit to the thing that it's just my fallback position, that I just say that because I just say that as an excuse, because that's just not the way it works. If I wasn't able to demonstrate and show you examples like that and demonstrate how unfair they are in that situation, you might have a case there. If I couldn't show the legitimacy, the veracity, and of the argument, the facts and the supporting argument, if I couldn't do that, if the facts were incorrect and the logic was off, you got a point. But the facts are dead on and the logic is unimpeachable. So I have that it stands up on its own merit, and I can show the institutional bias. Well, I like to think that trolls and attackers only proves you're effective, but what proves you're effective is the evidence. Everyone's got trolls. Even the people that are, like Alex Jones has his trolls. That doesn't mean, well, he may be, I guess he's effective at convincing people that everything's a hoax. So when do they not lie, Mark? When do bureaucrats care about others more than themselves? Government is a lie. There are no states or citizens. That's true. But not everything they say is a lie. Even in with this lawyer's attack against me, not everything he presents, it's quite extensive, actually. It's quite extensive. Let me just give you. This is the complaint against me, by the way. This is the complaint. Look at that. Look at how much. But only an idiot, I think, would say, well, not everything is false. I do a radio show. You got that right. I have helped people in and out of court. I do live in Arizona. So he got some things right. I have done consultations. He got it right. It's just more than half of what he said was factually inaccurate. So it's a little bit of truth with his lies. And that's dangerous. And he was able to convince other lawyers, which is not hey, you got a complaint against someone who's not a member of the club. Someone had the audacity to help people without us. Didn't want to be under our thumb. Didn't want to swear an oath to be an officer and counsel of the court. That's a thing. They're just a friggin' labor union. That's actually what I used against Judge Franks. I moved to, this is in the St. Paul District Court. And it's not UPL because Judge Franks let me. He waived the rule, which is what I asked for. I asked for the rule to be waived, that somebody must be a member of the bar, a mere labor union. And that talked him something off. He says, Mr. Stevens, I take exception to you labeling the bar as a mere labor union. And then we got into a discussion on it, and then he allowed me to speak on someone's behalf. Again, this bald Texas lawyer at the Kansas University. Again, Judge Franks allowed it. So you can scream and cry and pull out your eyebrows. It's not UPL yet. Oy vey, these friggin' people. So that's enough of that. Let's actually get into some of the ugliness, because it just chaps. Marc, file a counterclaim, mandamus, motion for declaratory judgment. It's not in court. My dog Rex, it's the bar. And all right, you guys put your comments here. There were no callers. I took a caller before, and there weren't any callers, and I decided to drop the call line because I got to save I got to save what's on the Skype account. So if you want to join me on the show, you can instant message me on Skype at FrankRizzle3, and then I can bring you up because that's a free call. I thought I dumped it. Okay. Okay, now we're dumped. So yeah, Jace, if you want to join the show, FrankRizzle3 on Skype, and I will bring you up on the show because nothing a month. Yeah, I can handle. So filing a counterclaim, mandamus, motion for declaratory judgment. Let me see. You guys put your. This is where I was before I got interrupted. You put your comments in there. Does anybody think for a second that I, as a non-lawyer, is going to be treated with any fairness whatsoever by the Arizona State Bar? Go ahead. Go ahead. If you think the Bar Association is going to be fair to me. Because I already know. Now, I defeated 2 attacks before, but boy, this is different. This, like I showed you, this is different. This isn't being done by Fran Johansson. I was able to get that backed off pretty, twice I beat them. So I don't think I'm going to have any. See, and the first 2 attacks didn't get to the level that this one did. I haven't been formally charged with anything, but this is still further than anything that they've done in the past. No. Fair? No. So knowing I can't get a fair shake from them, I have to spend as little time as possible in the defense. And I put in the defense, I'm wasting my time. Look, the only evidence of any kind of fairness by the state bar would be if the state bar did the exact same thing and they went after this bald Texas attorney who's teaching at a Kansas university. And I'm not guessing on things. I can actually show you the evidence to contradict the statements he made. All right, I can show that. Everyone who's familiar with the show, even people who are not familiar with the show, know there's not a single shred of evidence that I aggressively market and have ever aggressively marketed. This man is a lying lawyer. That should be enough to get him charged with a 3.3 rule violation for candor towards the tribunal. That should be enough to get him censored, punished to some degree. I'm not saying disbarred. But there should be something done to him just on his claim that he also lied through his teeth that I'm a sovereign citizen, and that was done deliberately to paint me as a domestic terrorist. That's a very serious false accusations against me. And as far as I know, the Arizona State Bar is not taking any action against this guy. So you know that after all these months that the Arizona State Bar has had this information, and that I provided the information to show he's lying through his teeth, nothing is done. So if this guy can falsely accuse me of multiple things, calling me a domestic terrorist, okay, it's a dog whistle. I get that. If he could get away with doing that and not have a single thing done to hold his bald lawyer self accountable, what possible chance do I have of actually defending myself against these lawyers? Because that's one of the things I brought up. Why would I have to be, even if we say for sake of argument that I was doing the practice of law, which I think that is really debatable. Why in the world would I, in Arizona, that's a right to work state, why would I have to belong to a labor union to do to work? It's a right to work state. So even if you can prove somehow, which you can't, that the laws apply because I'm physically in Arizona, just because you prosecuted other people. Even if you could prove jurisdiction at all, it's a right to work state. And it's not even an ordinary garden variety labor union. It's a government, lawyers may not be paid directly by the government, but when you take and subscribe an oath to become an officer and counselor of the judicial branch, you're a part of the government. Why would I have to be part of a labor union and a part of the government? But none of these arguments matter. None of the facts matter. Nothing matters. They're going to do what they're going to do based solely on what this bald lawyer accused me of. They're not going to take any of the evidence of any of the counter evidence into consideration. They don't care. They do not give a damn. So I'm glad my show is still here, but you guys need to know there's a very good chance the channel's going to get pulled, or at least, the videos where I'm discussing court. And more than likely, they're going to hit my website. So probably going to happen. But anyway, let's get to this other thing. People like Stahl, you guys, some of you are really obsessing on this corona stuff, that it's all a friggin' hoax. And it gets really tiring after a while. And I think I'm at a point where I'm not going to watch any more of your videos that you send me on Skype. You can email me stuff, and I'm probably not going to waste my time going through it. Because the last one I did, the guy starts off, and it's one of the worst legal logical fallacies. And no, it's not just, Fauci's he's a Jesuit. He's a Jesuit working with the Jews. Yeah, he's a Jesuit working with the Jews. Yeah. And it's, yeah. No, it was at least as stupid a theory as that. And so the guy starts the video, and just like the one with Kaufman, if I can disprove the foundation of the argument, there's no point in listening to the rest of it. If you can punch holes in the foundation argument, okay, then the rest of it's going to collapse because the foundation is faulty. So the Kaufman's argument, I think, is the same, as the Supreme Court justices in Arizona saying the laws apply to me because they put other people in prison. Okay, it's a faulty foundation. It makes no sense. So this new one, this video, the guy starts off saying, how did Fauci predict a pandemic? If he predicted it, he must have been behind it. Can you believe that? Why are you guys watching these videos and in the first minute or so not able to dismiss it? You say, I miss Marc talking about the Socratic method and the evidence and this and the logical fallacy. How could you possibly give your attention to somebody who's making a claim that because Dr. Fauci, a medical doctor who is an expert in infectious diseases, that just because he predicted a pandemic or an epidemic, that means that he must have been engineering it and been behind it and caused it? Jeez. Holy crap. Yeah, I know you've got these religious guys that are saying, we're going to keep going to church and the coronavirus is just a hoax and it's just to hurt the president because the president is God's messenger on earth and that God put him here and God will cure us. and they're dying of the coronavirus. Just like that Copeland guy who's going to spit through the TV. He's going to just get rid of that corona. So you've probably been hearing lately, you know, we're finally getting to, took a call and talked about some other things, and I mentioned, you know, I responded to comments, while we're finally getting to what the math part of the thumbnail for today's show. You probably heard a lot, or maybe you didn't, about epidemiology. And it's so staggeringly stupid to me that people in this day and age, okay, and again, I don't have a degree in immunology or virology and even biology. But in this day and age, with the technology that we have, that even what we had 50 years ago, we have what's called epidemiology and epidemiologists. And you have mathematics, math. So before I'm out of time, for those who aren't familiar, epidemiology is the study and analysis of the distribution, who, when, and where patterns and determinants of health and disease conditions in defined populations. It is the cornerstone of public health and shapes policy decisions and evidence-based practice by identifying risk factors for disease and targets for preventative health care. Epidemiologists help with study, design, collection, and statistical analysis of data, amend interpretation, and dissemination of results, including peer review and occasional systematic review or systemic review. Epidemiology has helped develop methodology used in clinical research, public health studies, and to a lesser extent, basic research in biological sciences. Major areas of epidemiological study include disease causation, transmission, outbreak, investigation, disease surveillance, environmental epidemiology, forensic epidemiology, occupational epidemiology, screening, biomonitoring, and comparisons of treatment effects such as in clinical trials. Epidemiologists rely on other scientific disciplines like biology to better understand disease processes, statistics to make efficient use of the data and draw appropriate conclusions, social sciences to better understand proximate and distal causes, and engineering for exposure assessment. Epidemiology, literally meaning the study of what is upon the people, is derived from Greek epi, meaning upon or among, demos, meaning people, district, and logos, meaning study, word, or discourse, suggesting that it applies only to human populations. However, the term is widely used in studies of zoological populations, veterinary epidemiology, although the term epizoology is available, and it has also been applied to studies of plant populations. The term epidemiology is now widely applied to cover the distinction between epidemic and endemic was first drawn by Hippocrates to distinguish between diseases that are visited upon a population, which is epidemic, and those that reside within a population, endemic. The term epidemiology appears to have first been used to describe the study of epidemics in 1802 by the Spanish physician Villalba in Epidemiologia Española. Epidemiologists also study the interaction of diseases in a population, a condition known as syndemic. The term epidemiology is now widely applied to cover the description and causation of not only epidemic disease, but of disease in general, and even many non-disease health-related conditions, such as therefore, this epidemiology is based upon the pattern of the disease causes change in the function of human beings. So, they actually study. They know that's it's why they can say with almost absolute certainty what caused the bubonic plague or caused the Black Death in Europe and how it spread. So what they do is they use statistics and they have mathematical models. So they study the virus, how it's transmitted. They study things such as one, again, how it's transmitted, whether it's through the air or through blood, through contact. And that they do by isolating, visualizing, and recreating the virus. They map the genome. They can distinguish this virus from another one, and then they for patterns. They're not just making guesses. They're making scientifically based mathematical models that show the spread and how it goes. They did a BBC thing 2 years ago talking about this, and they've been saying for years. They said in 2007, based on the culture in southern China of eating exotic mammals, this is a time bomb. They know from past experience, and they can track this. They can watch with these models that viruses can and do jump species, and those are particularly bad. So one of the other things that goes into the model is the density, how many people in that area tend to interact, and what the social behavior is of people generally. And they have, like with the common flu or the regular flu, the common cold, it has a 24 to 48 hour incubation period before so you're carrying this, and you can spread it to other people, but you don't have a symptom yet. And it's bad when it's 48 hours, but good Lord, when it's 8 to 10 days, the number of people. So I can't believe this is why if I'm not able to do the show anymore, I'm good. I'm getting an overload of people just bombarding me with this stuff. Anthony Fauci, just because he's a Catholic, he must be a Jesuit working with the Jews, and he engineered this with the Chinese. So it's the Jews and the Jesuits with the Chinese. They are experts. They know how diseases jump species, and they know from mathematical models how it spreads through populations. So this is some basic stuff. Mathematical models can project how infectious diseases progress to show the likely outcome of an epidemic and help inform public health interventions. Models use basic assumptions or collected statistics along with mathematics to find parameters for various infectious diseases and use those parameters to calculate the effects of different interventions like mass vaccination programs. The modeling can help decide which interventions to avoid and which to trial, or can predict future growth patterns. So when they're looking at a population, a mathematical model for infecting a population, they're going to put in there the incubation period, the time that you have this infectious virus, and they're going to put in the model based on the number of people that the average person interacts with in a day. And from that, they can extrapolate and they can model, okay, in 2 days, you're going to be infecting 100 people. In 10 days, it's going to be 1,000. And then from there, they're able to see how many people that they each one are going to. Now, those models are not going to be 100% accurate because because there are variables, but they can accurately predict. I'm just and that's just basic stuff. Yeah, I did I did a Google search, guys, and so here it's Wikipedia. But the thing with Wikipedia is it's all annotated. It has the references. You can go and you can verify, or you can get something to contradict. But they've been able to do the models for a long time, and now with AI, I think I've done a decent job showing just how stupid the argument is. Not the people making it, but the argument itself is really stupid. So spare me this crap that I'm insulting everybody who disagrees with me. The argument is ridiculous. Just because Anthony Fauci works for the government, is Catholic, and predicted, like thousands of other epidemiologists probably did and have done, that there was going to be another pandemic. Because guess what, people? We've had pandemics throughout world history. Does everyone think that it's suddenly going to stop? It's not rocket surgery to predict a pandemic when you have, 2,000 years of history to show pandemics are a part of the world. Oh my gosh. He predicted it. He must have caused it. Oh, good Lord. It's not just another flu, because we'll end on this, on the really bad news. When I did the show 4 days ago, we had 690,000 reported cases. There were 35 deaths. There are now 802,000 reported cases, and there are over 44,000 deaths. This is far more deadly than the average flu. And if it is the flu, then it is 5, 6, 7 times more deadly than it has been in the past. You're talking 9,000 people in the United States dying in 4 days. So don't tell me it's just the flu. You don't have 9,000 people dying in 4 days with the regular flu. Yeah, people die from the flu. And a lot of times those people have underlying health issues. A friend of mine, she was very heavy and she had lifelong health problems. It was still a complete shock that she died at 49 of the flu. But it's because the flu weakened her system enough that the other issues, the other health issues, it was just an overwhelming thing to the system. So it's not. And I'll make this plea. Just stop bombarding. If I keep getting bombarded with the coronavirus hoax stuff, the 5G and all this on Skype, I'm just going to remove myself from the group because I don't want to hear it anymore. I've gone and I've watched some of the videos, and the trash that you guys are sending me is really, really disappointing. Well, Dr. Fauci predicted it. He must have caused it. Good gosh. David Walker, you suck. I'm out. Thank you. Appreciate you tuning in. Yeah, and then there's fake news. There is no valid corona test. Yeah, I know. They can only map the genome. So I guess it's fake. They can't recognize that the antibodies. Okay, it's all that. Yeah. We have to have so-and-so show up again. It was a couple of shows without them. So, all right, I'm going to end on that. Again, please stop sending me the COVID stuff. I'm not interested. Not because my mind is shut, but if you're going to send me something, at least have a valid premise that they're starting with. So, Mark, my dog Rex. Now you sound like a judge, Mark, because I say so. What the hell if I just? Oh man, you've been going into. I'm not saying it's because I said so. I'm giving. All right. That's enough for today. Unfortunately, I think at this rate, we're probably going to have close to 1 million confirmed cases and over 50,000 people dead. So hopefully it doesn't go that way. New York seems to be flattening. Seems, right? Who knows? But with all these people with their guns and liberate Michigan, liberate Minnesota, whatnot, who knows? It's probably going to be another major spike. So we'll see. All right. I appreciate everyone tuning in. The website for the time being is markstevens.net. So if you'd like to support what's left of the show, help keep it going, at least pay for callers, is appreciated. It's markstevens.net. And hopefully we're able, we'll be doing a show on Saturday. There are more people to annoy, so we'll have to do that. So till we are live again on the Saturday show, salud.